Hi there, welcome back to this channel. My name's Billy Chabalenge. I talk about scholarship. In this video, I'll be talking about the Commonwealth Distance Learning Masters Scholarship, which has just opened on the 17th of February 2026. If you've not yet subscribed and you are willing to learn more about scholarship, please do subscribe. And this video is basically meant for those who are new to this scholarship. You have no much information about the scholarship, so I'll take it slowly, explaining all the details of the scholarship. So in this video, I'll start by introducing what this scholarship is about. I'll then talk about the objectives of the scholarships that you need to be aware of, what the scholarship is going to cover if you are awarded. Then we'll look at how to check for eligible courses, and this is very important. You're going to see why this is important. Then we'll look at the application timeline. You should be able to know what to expect and by the time that you're going to be awarded. Then we'll talk about how to apply for the scholarship. We'll talk about the selection criteria. Then I'll give you the main part of this video, which is about the essay writing tips. And I know because you only have a month to submit your application, I'm also going to include what I call a checklist for each essay, so that even if you do not have anyone to review your essay, you should be able to just use that checklist to see if you've written the correct thing or not. And I'll end the video by giving you some useful resources that you should be able to find on the Commonwealth website. Now, if you already know more about this scholarship, you can just go to the video description and you should be able to see the timestamp to check which part of the video you want to watch. So let's get started with this video. So now, as an introduction, the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission in the UK, they provide various scholarships. At master's level, they do provide 3 different master's level. There is what we call the Commonwealth General Masters Scholarship. There is the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, and the third one is the Commonwealth Distance Learning Masters Scholarship, which is the one that I'm talking about in this video. So if you are looking to study at a distance away from the UK, benefit from the UK while still remaining in your country, this is the scholarship for you. So what are the objectives of this scholarship? The first thing, like I've mentioned, is that the scholarship is intended to contribute to the development of the Commonwealth countries, so that you, as an applicant who is coming from these Commonwealth countries, I think there are about 44 countries that are eligible this year, you are going to gain the skills and the qualification that are needed while you stay in your country. So you are going to be learning at a distance as a mode of learning. And this scholarship is offered based on what they call the 6 themes. If you are familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, you know that there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now, the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, they use themes, and these are the 6 themes. So you have something to do with science and technology for development. There's something to do with promoting global prosperity, and the rest. So there are 6 themes. So all the eligible courses and everything that you're going to be writing about should be able to be surrounded or to justify how you fit in one of these themes, or one. Actually, they want you to select about 3 themes. So you should be able to demonstrate how you as an applicant qualify for this scholarship by demonstrating what you have or what you are bringing in to fit into at least 3 themes that this scholarship is based about. And who are the intended beneficiaries? I've already mentioned. So this one is intended for high quality postgraduate students like yourself. If you have a distinction, you have a merit, and to some extent you have a credit, then you should be able to get this scholarship. However, it is only meant for those who are coming from the Commonwealth countries, and these Commonwealth countries which are considered to be least developed, or they are called middle-income country, or from fragile states. Those are the ones who are eligible. When you go to the website, you'll see the list of the 44 countries that are eligible for this scholarship. And these candidates, they wish to access training from the UK, which is not available in their country. So this is the essence of you studying at a distance learning model. Now, what does this scholarship cover? Remember, you're going to be learning at distance. You're not coming to the UK for you to be studying. So the first thing is that once you be awarded this scholarship, you are going to enjoy your full tuition fee what is going to be paid. And this is on an ongoing basis. Quite all right, your courses are going to say that your master's is for 2 years, but if you are not able to finish within that 2 years, depending on how your course is structured, whether it's based on module by module or however the university that you're applying to, wherever they've structured that course, you should be able to be fully paid for up to 5 to 6 years if it is on a modular basis. However, if you manage to finish within 2 years or whatever period is stipulated for that course that you're applying for, then that will be the period that the scholarship is going to cover you for. The other benefit is that most cases previously they used to give a study grant. This study grant will help you maybe to buy your computer, to have internet connection facilities, and if you're going to do a dissertation that requires you to do some data correction, this is some of the grant that you can still use to correct your data and write your final dissertation. So these are some of the benefits of this scholarship. Now, before you become awarded this scholarship, you need to know that as you are applying for this scholarship, they are not just going to consider you being eligible for the scholarship. The universities that you are going to apply through, they are called the nominating agencies. They usually have their own condition in addition to what the conditions of this scholarship are. So you should be able to check with the respective universities on what other criteria you need to meet before you apply for the scholarship. So in the next slide, let me show you on how you should be able to do this. So let's go. So once you are on the Commonwealth Scholarship website, you go to the Commonwealth Distance Learning Master Scholarship. You land on this page. Once you've landed on this page, you go to how to apply. When you click on how to apply, then you scroll down. You go down, you're going to see this tab, which gives a full list of approved courses and participating UK universities. And it is clearly stated down there that please check with the chosen university for their specific advice on when to apply, admission requirements, and rules for applying. So it's very important that you take this step before you apply for the scholarship, and this is why I'm presenting this information. So we are going to click on the full list, and once we click on the full list, we wait, it opens, and it's going to give us all the list of courses which are organized based on the themes. So you have the list, the university, and the eligible courses. So for example, if you are in the health sector and you are applying under strengthening health system and capacity, you click on this and it will bring you the list of eligible courses under this theme. So you have your university and the course. So for example, if you want to apply under Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine for Masters in Global Health, you simply click on Masters in Global Health. When you click on it, to take you to the website for the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. And once you land, it will take you to the page for the Master's Scholarship. So not the scholarship, but the Master's program itself. So each university website will have a search button. So you simply go to the search button and you type in Commonwealth Distance scholarship, and you click search. Once you click search, you're going to see here we have the first one. It's showing it was updated on the 18th of February 2026. And it's a Commonwealth distance scholarship. So you simply click on it, and there you land on the page for the Commonwealth distance scholarship, and it gives you the information that the scholarship is open from the 17th of February and closing on the 31st March 2026 at 16 hours British summer time. And this is where now you're going to see how many slots are eligible through this program or through this university. In this case, if you are applying for this course under Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, you are going to be competing for only 5 fully funded scholarships for all those who are going to apply for this scholarship. And they've provided the application process. The first step, they are saying that you need to apply for admission in the course. And they've clearly stated here that they are going to prioritize only those that are going to apply before midnight of 23 March 2026 for admission in the course and not in the scholarship. And they cannot guarantee processing application for those who are going to submit after this deadline. So this is why it's very important that you follow through the application process for each eligible course and university. So the first step, if you're applying through this university, you ensure that you apply for admission before the 20th of March 2026. And they've stated the eligibility criteria, everything that you need to submit. So you meet all these conditions that needs to be met. You apply for admission in the course. The second step is to apply for the scholarship itself. So now you go back to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission electronic application system. I'm going to show you on how to navigate through this system. So again, you apply and ensure that you submit your application before the deadline of the 1st March 2026, 16 hours British summer time. And they've given you the eligibility criteria for this scholarship. The candidates that are eligible, all these countries, so members from these countries are eligible to apply. And once you've applied, the third stage will be now for them to assess your application process. So they are going to use the Commonwealth Scholarship application form. That's why you need to apply through the central portal. And once you have applied for admission, they are going to use that application to evaluate if you meet the condition of the scholarship, your academic merit, and also the impact of your study, and based on your impact of your study and what you are going to justify in the personal statement that you are going to write. So these are the processes or the steps that you should be able to follow if you are applying for Masters in Global Health under this university. So each university is going to have its own additional process. So before you continue with your scholarship application, go to the university website, use the process that I've just explained, and ensure that you follow the process and you meet both the deadline for admission in the program and also you submit your scholarship before 31st March 2026. So this is a simple process. Right. Now that we've known how to check for additional criteria from the universities and when we should be able to apply, should we apply concurrently or should we apply for admission, then apply for the scholarship, it's important that you know the timeline. The timeline is very important so that you do not miss out. So the first thing is that the scholarship is already open. It opened on the 17th of February 2026. And since the scholarship is open, what do we need to do? At this stage, we need to make an application for both the scholarship and for admission. You make the scholarship application by going to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission Central Portal. I'm going to show you on how to go to that portal. Then each nominating agency, like I've just previously explained, will have additional information. So you follow through like I've demonstrated, and you also apply for admission and ensure that you meet the criteria for both the university and for the scholarship commission. And once you make that application, you need to ensure that you submit the application by the deadline. So for admission, you submit by the deadline for that respective university. And for the scholarship, you submit your application by the 31st of March 2026. And once that is done, the universities will be able to have access to your application, which you are going to submit through the central portal for the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission. They will assess you using the eligibility criteria, which I'm going to briefly highlight. And once they have done their process, they are going to have a list of those that they are going to recommend or nominate to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission to finally award. And once that is done, by June and July 2026, the universities are going to be able to give that list. So the universities will give the list to the Commonwealth Commission by June. And then the commission is going to review the list, check that indeed you meet the criteria, and those who are going to meet the criteria, the list to be given back to the universities by June or July. And by August 2026, the universities themselves are going to communicate with you by issuing what they call a notification of award letter that you've been awarded for that scholarship, which is the Commonwealth Distance Scholarship, for you to learn at that respective university. So this is the process that you should be expecting. So once you apply, expect to listen or to hear from the commission on the university around August. That is when you are going to hear from them if you've been awarded or you've not been awarded. Okay, so now that we know the timeline, let's go back to how to make an application for the scholarship. I've already shown you on how to navigate through to go to the respective universities for applying for admission. Now, how do you apply for the scholarship? So the first thing is to type in Google, you type Commonwealth Scholarship or Commonwealth Distance Learning Master Scholarship, and it will take you to, once you are on Google, you should be able to see which one of the tab you should be able to click. You go to the website for the Commonwealth Scholarship and you specifically look for the Commonwealth Distance Learning Master Scholarship. When you come to this page, you click on where it is saying how to apply. And once you click on where it's saying how to apply, you scroll down and you should be able to see where it's saying you need to apply through the CSC Central Portal. So you click on that Central Portal, and once you click on that link, it's going to take you to the Central Portal where you're going now to be welcomed. And here you have an option whether you have to create an account or you are an existing user. So if you had applied for other Commonwealth Scholarship, for example, if you applied for the Commonwealth Master Scholarship, the general one, or you applied for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, there is no need of you creating another account. So you are going to log in as an existing user. But if you are new, you need to click on the new user. And once you do that, this tab will come up where you will be required to enter your details. So you're going to enter your details, your email and everything. And once you do that, there will be a process where you need to choose whether you want to use your email address to receive the one-time password, the authentication password that you'll be using every time, or you want to use the app. If you want to use the app, then you have to download the Microsoft app, but you are going to see the process is very simple. You will be able to receive the OTP through your email, and once you receive that OTP, you should be able to use it and create an account. And once you create an account, you should be able to continue with the application. So once you click on the continue button after you've successfully registered an account or you've already opened an account, so you've logged in as an existing user, you're going to be welcomed by this page or tab inside the application portal. And for you to apply for this scholarship, you click on the new application, which is the first tab. Once you click on that, you are going to see that the only scholarship that is open currently is the Commonwealth Distance Learning Scholarship. And you simply click on it, and once you click on it, you're going to see the details are going to come up, and you should be able to enter the details. You enter your name and the university that you are applying for, and also the course that you are applying for. You select, so these you'll be able to be selected from the down menu. They are already in the system, and you should be able now to confirm that you are eligible for the scholarship. And once you confirm that you are eligible for the scholarship, you should be able to click submit, and you will be going now into the different application form for the scholarship. So if you are thinking of applying to more than one course or more than one university, you have to repeat this process, because each application you are going to link it to the course and the university, and it's going to be issued an application number. So once you click on submit, you are now going to see the reference number or the application number issued to that application. So if you want to apply to more than one course or university, you simply repeat the process. Again, you start from new application, you enter the details, you select the second university or the second course, and you click submit. All your application that you're going to create are going to be separated by this unique reference number that is going to be issued, and then you continue and complete the application for each of the sections. So there are various sections that you have to complete. The first one will be the details. So this is where you find your details, like your name and other things that you need to include. But most of the things like your name, your email address will have already been populated. The next tab will be for academics. So this is where now you're going to include what you already have. The undergraduate, that makes you eligible for this scholarship. You're going to enter when you started studying your undergraduate, and when you finished, what grade you obtained and which university. And if you did more than one, you should be able to include all the necessary information. The next tab is about professional background. So this is where now you're going to include information about where you are working, when you started working, what is the end date for working, or is it an ongoing, what are your responsibilities. So it's basically something like you giving your work experience in a CV. The next component will be about the references. So this is where you're going to include at least 3 details of your referee, and for you to be eligible for this scholarship, you should be able to submit at least 2 from the 3 that you are going to include. If you did your studies in the UK, you will be required to enter the 4th referee from the UK. It is pretty simple. You are going to see once you start going through the application. What I'm going to recommend is that please do take time to read the instructions and follow the instruction to the letter. The next component will be about you writing an essay, which is the developmental impact essay, and we are going to explain more on how you're going to write this essay, which is in 4 parts. And once you can write this essay offline, and then just come back and copy and paste your essays. The next tab will be about your career plan. Again, there are essays that you need to write related to your career plan. What are your goals during your studies? What is your outline of your study plan, and what is your career plan once you complete? And those questions, we are going to go detail on how you should be able to respond to them. The next one will be about your proposed study in the UK. So which course you are proposing, why are you selecting those courses, how are they related to developmental. So you're going to select the themes. Again, like I've mentioned, there are 6 themes. So from the 6, you select 3 that are related, or the sustainable development goals. The next tab will be about the personal statement. So here you're going to now give a personal statement about your leadership and your engagement in voluntary activities. Again, this is another essay that we are going to do in detail. Then there's a checklist that you have to confirm that you meet the eligibility and other requirements that you are going to see. Then there is a section on equity and diversity where they want to just get some information from you, like where did you know about the scholarship, Are you a Christian, or which religion you belong to? Are you coming from minority? Are you disabled? So that they should be able to support you if you are awarded. This is some of the information that they will be able to get. Then the next tab is about attachment. So this is where now you are supposed to upload your document. And the attachment has these components. You have a component where you are supposed to upload your passport. Again, follow the instruction that is stated on how to ensure that you upload the correct document. There is a tab where you need to upload your transcript, so ensure that all your undergraduate transcript showing the results and the marks are included in the application, right? The degree certificate, again, you ensure that you've included the degree certificate. University offer, if there is an offer, you've already applied. If there is no offer, please ensure that you apply, because like I've mentioned, different universities will have different deadline for you to apply. So they are only going to consider those that meet their own university criteria. So if you've already applied, there's a section where you're going to include the application number on the form, which is going to be assigned by that university. So that application number is going to help them to verify if you applied on time and if they've admitted you or not, for them to screen and process your application. And finally, this is the tab for references. So this is where you should be able to upload the references that you are going to obtain from your referees. Again, references should not just be a 1 or 2 sentences. They should be comprehensive references detailing on how you qualify for the scholarship and how your referee thinks you are going to use these skills that you are going to gain in terms of contributing to development. And something that I usually emphasize every time I'm looking at the scholarship, which is to ensure that you submit your application on time. There are a number of applicants who are trying to upload or apply for the scholarship. There are thousands, over 10,000. Now imagine the 10,000 of you are using the system at once. So the system becomes slow, there are glitches in the system, and you may fail to submit on time. So please ensure that you try and submit on time. So for this scholarship, I'm recommending that you submit by the 22nd of March 2026. You should be able to have submitted this scholarship. And before you submit, you are going to see the summary, which is the last tab on the right corner there. Now that summary is going to give you the summary of what you've written and you've included. And if you want to have a copy, you should be able to download or save a PDF copy of your application and you submit. So this is how the application form is as you'll be completing it online. Right, so now that you know how to apply, once you've applied, the scholarship has closed, what criteria is going to be used to assess your application? So the first thing is that they use 3 essential parts of your application to assess. The first one is academic merit. So if you've not met the requirement, which is either you have a distinction, you have a merit, you have a credit, or you have a high GPA, then you are going to score low marks at this point, and that is going to disadvantage you. Remember, you are not the only one applying for this scholarship. You are competing with other applicants. So this is going to disadvantage you if you have weak merits in terms of your qualification or your undergraduate. So they are going to look at what we call the primary indicators and secondary indicators. So the primary indicators is your examination results, your academic transcript, and the referees, the 2 references that you are going to include. That's why they emphasize that you give a comprehensive academic transcript that shows all the marks that you obtain. So that is what they are going to use to evaluate your merit as a candidate. On secondary indicators, they are going to see if you won any prize. Were you a best student in one of the subjects? Did you obtain a distinction or what? That is going to add an advantage as a secondary indicator. They will look at other achievements that you were able to achieve during your studies. They will look at if you have any publications, are you doing any writing, have you done any professional training, and the rest will be able to be considered as a secondary. But the primary ones are your transcript, your results, and the references that you are going to get. So ensure that you get detailed referees or references from your referees. The second criteria is the quality of your study plan. So the way you are going to explain that how are your objectives during your studies, what do you want to gain from the studies, and how you are going to use those skills. So those essays that you are going to write are key indicators when it comes to the quality of your study plan, and this is why you need to write them clearly, easy to understand, and to demonstrate the impact that you want to create once you gain the skills that you are going to gain. And the secondary one will be an existing offer. So in this case, if you've already applied, you have an application number, and you've clearly presented your essays and everything in your application, then that is going to act as secondary. Right. The third point again is the potential of impact to development in your country. So this is about the developmental impact essay, how you are going to demonstrate that your skills are going to contribute to the development. Winning a scholarship is not about selfish interest that you want to gain those skills so that you can get a high-paying job, or maybe you want to become a boss and what. No, it is about demonstrating that they are sponsoring you to gain the skills, and you are going to put to good use those skills for the benefit of others and not your selfish gain of getting a high-paying job and the rest. And those will be the secondary indicators that they will be able to look at when they are looking at the impact. So you need to ensure that you write your essays to ensure that all the primary indicators are covered, and that is how you are going to present a strong application. Right, so now that we've looked at the selection criteria, let's go into the main part of this video, which is about the essay writing tips. So I'm going to give you I'll start with the essay question. From the essay question, then I'll give you the tips that you should be able to consider when writing. And after that, I'm going to give you a summary of the checklist that you should be able to use to evaluate your essay if it meets the criteria, or if it clearly explains the response to the question. So let's start with the first essay question, and this essay question is the developmental impact essay question. So this is the question. It says the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission in the UK are funded by the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. So they put an important selection criteria in the potential that you are going to show to contribute that you want to make at an international development if you are awarded the scholarship. Now you need to provide the developmental impact in 4 parts. So the first part is that how is your study related to the development issues at a global level, at national level, and at local level, and also development issues that are connected to the chosen CSC themes. So remember at the beginning of this video I mentioned the 6 themes, and I also mentioned that you are going to select 3 themes as part of your application. So how is your study related to those 3 themes that you've selected? The second part of the essay that you need to write is how you intend to apply your new skills and qualification when you are done with your studies. And you may wish to reference to innovation, the knowledge of application, and intended methodology or the implementation strategy that you want to use. The third part of the question is that what do you expect is going to change in terms of developmental terms? What outcomes are you expecting to achieve? The timeline, and who is going to benefit. As you can see, like I've mentioned, scholarship, to win a scholarship, you need to demonstrate that you are going to create an impact on the community and not for your selfish gain. And if you see from this question, there's nowhere where they are saying what will be your benefit. It is about who is going to benefit. So you should be able to demonstrate who the beneficiary are going to be. And finally, the part 4 of this essay question is how your impact of your work is going to be measured, evidenced, what indicators are you going to use, and you may consider some small incremental changes from A to B to C, like that. So this is the first essay question about developmental impact. So let's answer, or let's discuss on how you should be able to answer this question. We'll start with the first part, then we'll go to the second part, the third part, and the fourth part. So with the first part, how your study relates to global, national, local, and the CSC themes. So how do you answer that one? So the first thing that you need to do is to identify a need in your community, in your country, that is related to your chosen course or your research that you want to carry. So ensure that if you're going to do public health, identify a problem that is related to public health, because that is the course that you are going to study. And that problem should be a big problem, whether in your community, in your region, in your country, and it should be able to be linked to the CSC themes. So you identify the need in your community, then you show now that that problem is complex. How do you show that? You can use different percentages, data. For example, if you are looking at things to do with poverty, you can look at statistics that talks about poverty maybe in your country or in your region. You say maybe 50% of people go, maybe they eat 1 meal a day. That shows that that is a problem, and such numbers will be able to demonstrate the complexity of that problem. And once you've done that, you ensure that you use other indicators, and then you link it to the Commonwealth theme. Is it about inclusivity? Is it about strengthening health system? Is it about science and technology? You link it to that, and if you're coming from Africa, you can link it to other agenda like the African Agenda 2063, or you can link it to the Sustainable Development Goals. How are you going to tap in and contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals? But remember, this is 2026, and these Sustainable Development Goals, they have a goal of 2030. So you're going to start studying possibly in 2026, so you have about 4 years. And if you're going to use Sustainable Development Goals, you need to be careful how you justify those Sustainable Development Goals by ensuring that you contribute to them by 2030. Do not start talking about contributing to Sustainable Development Goals in 2033 or in 2035, when the target for those goals that we currently have is 2030. So you link your topic to the CSC theme and other theme or other developmental goals within your countries. You can read things like the statistics about your country, the national development plan in your country. All those can be linked to how the problem is. And then once you've demonstrated that, you also include how your studies is going to help you contribute to that problem. And then you conclude this essay with you reiterating the passion that you have to contributing to solving the problem that you've identified. So this is how you're going to answer this first part. Now, as a checklist for this essay, to show if you've clearly answered the essay or not, how do you check? The first thing is you need to ask yourself, after you've gone through your essay, have you linked your problem to global issue at national level or to local development that you want to see change? That is the first thing that you need to ask yourself. The second thing you need to ask yourself, if you have supported the challenge that you've identified with evidence. Have you given concrete evidence in terms of numbers or percentages? Those should be used because they are going to demonstrate how big the problem is as you try to justify. And the third question that you need to ask yourself for this essay is that, have you connected your problem to your chosen course and also to the themes that are provided by the CSC, logically explaining them? So if you've done these three things, then you've clearly answered this question and you should be able to score a high mark in this part 1 of the essay. So let's move on to part 2. So part 2 requires you to now explain how you intend to apply the new skills and the qualification that you are going to obtain after doing your distance studies. Okay, so again, as you are answering this essay, you need to mention the problem that you've identified in part 1. So after you've mentioned the problem, you link the problem to the modules of the research. So if you are talking about contributing to poverty and you are applying for an agriculture course, you say poverty is high in this country, and because I'm going to study agriculture, I'm going to come up with resilient solutions. ABC course is going to give me skills for me to design resilient solutions that is going to increase the output of food and make it or contribute to reduction of hunger in my country. So you should be able to mention the problem that you stated in part 1, and then you link the problem to the modules, identify the modules and what skills you're going to benefit and apply to contribute to solving the problem that you've identified. Be specific on the skills that you are going to gain in each course or module that you are going to learn about, and mention the area you want to use the skills. Are you going to use them in research? Are you going to use them in lecturing, policy advocacy? Remember, the scholarship, the Commonwealth Scholarship is objective is for professionals who are going to contribute to development. So you should be able to link to that, demonstrate how you are going to apply your skills to development, whether it's in the research, lecturing, policy advocacy, and others. The next part is that you need to highlight the method or the strategy that you are going to use as you are implementing your skills to solve the problem. As simple as that. So once you've written this essay, again as a checklist, you should be able to use this checklist to see if you've written the essay clearly responding to the question. The first thing that you need to ask yourself is, have you linked your skills to the problem that you identified in part 1? If you've done that, yes, that is good. The second part is, have you described the realistic use of the skills that you are going to gain? If you are going to gain skills that are going to help you design something, you should be able to demonstrate how you're going to design that something, but not completely solving the problem, because you cannot solve the problem on your own even if you design something that is novel. So it should be something that is realistic, demonstrating on the use of the skill. Have you shown how innovation or how you are going to improve the practice by you applying those skills that you are going to gain from the courses that you or the modules that you're going to study? So that should also come out, and once that is done, you know that you are okay. The third part of the question is the expected change. What change do you expect? What outcome? What is the time frame? And who you think are going to benefit from you contributing to development? So as you are writing this essay, the first thing is that you need to think in terms of developmental impact and not your personal gain or success. How are you going to impact the community with the new skills that you have gained from the course that you want to study? The outcome should be related to the field of study. So if you are going to study something related to agriculture, the outcome should be able to demonstrate that poverty is going to reduce if it's in rural areas, or maybe the food basket of your country is going to improve from maybe 20% to 50%, something like that. So you should be able to demonstrate clearly the outcome of the impact in the field that you're going to be studying. You shouldn't be talking of outcomes that are way off the field of your study. And as you are writing this essay question, I encourage you to use the technique that I call the SAT technique as you write. So what is the SAT technique? So the SAT technique is that the S stands for being specific. You need to be very specific on what change you want to see. You need to be specific on the outcome. You need to be specific on who is going to benefit. The second thing is you need to talk about your actions or what you are going to achieve. How are you going to solve the problem? How is it going to be achieved? So your actions that are going to be taken to contribute to solving that problem should clearly come out. And the last part is that you need to provide a time frame. So there should be a time frame. By 3 years after implementing ABCD, you expect poverty to have reduced by 20%. By 5 years, you expect poverty to have reduced by 30%. So it should be something that can be demonstrated incrementally, or what I'm emphasizing here is that there should be a time bound. So the time frame should be clearly be specific and show that you can achieve it, or you can attain whatever you plan to contribute to development. When it comes to the checklist, if you've written this essay correct, you should be able to ask yourself questions. Have you clearly separated the outcome from activities? So activities is what you are going to do. Outcome is the result. So for example, if you're going to contribute to solving hunger problem in your country by you designing novel solution for agriculture, that is an activity. But hunger being reduced from 20%, hunger being reduced by 20%, that is a result. So you should be able to demonstrate that you've clearly separated the outcome and the activities that you are going to do. The other thing that you need to ask yourself is that, have you clearly given the time frame? Are you realistic within the time frame? You're not going to say that you're going to end hunger within 3 years after contributing. After completing your master's, you implement your skills and you're going to end hunger within 2 years. That is unrealistic. So you should be able to demonstrate that you are realistic, and also the beneficiary. So who is going to benefit? By you improving the food basket of your community, basically the farmers, or you design something that is going to increase the high yield of crops. So farmers are going to benefit. The country is also going to benefit in terms of the revenues that are going to come. So you should be able to find different ways of demonstrating how they are going to benefit, and they clearly state who is going to benefit. It's the farmer, it's the buyers, it's the government, and you demonstrate how they are going to benefit. So clearly explain. And if you've done that, then you've answered part 3 clearly. Now when it comes to part 4, which is the last part for this essay, you should be able to answer the question on how your impact is going to be measured, the indicators, and how the impact is. So to answer this question, you need again to link your answer to the response in part 1 to 3. Remember, this is one essay, but it is just in 4 parts. So this essay should not be written more like an essay on its own. It should be able to relate to all the parts. In fact, all the 4 parts of the essay should be related somehow, because it's one essay about development and you are just splitting them in 2 parts because of how the question is. So you need to link your answer to the response that you've given in part 1 to 3, and then use or link it to the response to the tools or indices that are used in your field to demonstrate how you're going to carry out the research, how you're going to measure, and which indicators you're going to use. So usually at a global level, you have World Bank reports, you have WHO reports. They have indicators that they use to measure different metrics or impact that is created by them. At national level, you have national statistics, you have the national development plan, so you can use those to demonstrate how the impact is going to be measured. Are you going to use such reports, or are you going to carry out the actual research, get raw data, analyze the data, and demonstrate the impact that you're going to create? So you should be able to do a bit of research on what kind of indicators are used in your field and try to mention those indicators as you are writing this essay. And once you are done, again, you use the checklist to see if you clearly answer this question. The first one is, have you included measurable indicators? For example, the issue of poverty that I've given. So maybe it will be, one of the indicators will be that 1 in 10 individuals are now going to have 2 to 3 meals a day because you have contributed to reduction in hunger. So that can be an indicator. And then you link them both to small and significant impact. So it starts slowly by 1 to 10 people benefiting from your skills. Then as time goes by, more people are going to benefit. So you can demonstrate that way. The other thing that you need to ask yourself is, have you linked your measurements or your indicators to recognize framework at your national level, at a global level, like I've mentioned? So the best way of doing it is to look at what frameworks are used in your field. At global level, you can look at World Bank, WHO, and other organizations that are known internationally. At local level, you can look at national statistics, you can look at developmental plans. Most countries, they have national development plans, so you can tap into some of the indicators that are included in those national development plans. So this is how you'll be able to respond to the first question on developmental impact. The other thing that you need to ask yourself is it clear on how that data is going to be collected for you to measure the impact or the indicators, and how you are going to validate it or monitor it? You should be able to also check in your essay that you've clearly stated that. And if you've done that, then you are home and dry on this question. Right, so the next essay question is your career essay question. And this question goes like, the selection panel, we want to understand how your proposed study will assist you in your career. So describe the skills that you expect to gain from the scholarship. So this is the first part, the skills that you expect to gain from the scholarship and your career plan once you return home afterwards. So I think they've not edited the question because it's sounding as if you are going to the UK to study and then you return home. But never mind on that, just answer the way the question is. So the first part is that you need to write the objectives during your study or during your award, your career plan in the 5 years, and your long-term plan. So let's answer this question. We'll start answering the career plan essay with the objectives during your award. How do you answer this one? You need to write at least 5 objectives that you want to achieve during your award. Is it that you want to graduate as a best graduating student, or you want to graduate with a distinction? Is it that you want to have professional network? Is it that you want to ensure that your dissertation is going to be impactful and going to create a knowledge transfer? So whatever objectives that you want to achieve during your studies, you need to explain. My recommendation is that you include at least 5 objectives during your studies. And once you've written that, then you use the checklist again if you've clearly answered this question. Have you outlined the specific academic and professional goals? So do not just have academic goals. You should also be able to have professional goals. The Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, they are going to organize some form of networking events. They might be online, and you'll be invited to attend those. So you can see how you would want to tap into such networking events and have some professional goals. Maybe you want to connect with people who are like-minded in your field and the rest, so that you can develop some solutions in future once you are done with your studies and everything. So be clear on both academic and professional goals during your award. The second thing that you need to ask yourself, if you've clearly answered this question, is, does your essay show a strategic preparation? Does it show that indeed you are prepared and you are not just going to be attending? Are you just going to be attending class and get this master's for your self-benefit? No, you need to demonstrate the objectives, what exactly you want to get from this scholarship that will help you contribute to development. Right, So now you've answered the first part. The second part of the essay is to write your career plan, your 5-year career plan and your long-term career plan. So I've combined these two because they are all talking about a career plan, and you just need to use the same writing or the same tips as you are writing your 5-year plan and your long-term plan. So how do you write it? The first thing is that I encourage you to use what we call the SMART technique when you are writing your career plan. So what is this SMART technique? The S stands for being specific. So you need to be specific. What do you want to do in your 5-year plan? What do you want to do in your long-term plan? Where do you want to do that? When do you want to do it, and how do you want to do it? So you need to be specific on what you want to do in your 5-year plan and in your long plan. The second thing is that whatever you want to do that you mentioned is specific. Is it measurable? How will your goal be measured? Again, it goes back to the other question that talked about measurement of the goal. So you can tap in that again and link this plan to what you have already written in your developmental plan. So remember, your career plan cannot talk about, let's say if you are mentioning something to do with impacting the community, and then when it comes to your career plan, you are talking about something to do with the university, maybe being as a lecturer, you are not impacting the community. So this career plan should be in sync with the developmental impact. If you know developmental impact, you are demonstrating that you are going to be impacting the community in doing ABCD. Even your career plan should be structured in such a way that it's being specific and related to the developmental plan that you have already talked about, and you should be able to show that your plan is measurable. You're going to do ABCD by this point, and it is achievable. That brings me to the next point, which is attainable or achievable. So your goal should be attainable. So if you're going to do something related to agriculture and you're going to implement a solution that is supposed to, let's say you want to develop a seed that is drought resistant that is going to help them. I don't think you can achieve that within a year of you completing your master's studies. So that is where we're saying that your goal should be achievable even as you are dreaming big. Are you sure that you can achieve that goal within 1 year? So again, it goes back to you being realistic with what you are saying. So be realistic in the goals that you are setting, even as you are using the different time frame. Be realistic within the time frame. So if you are saying you want to contribute to ending hunger by 2030, be realistic in whatever exactly you are going to do by 2030 that is going to contribute to ending hunger. Okay. Again, time frame is very important in writing the career plan. So your 5-year plan, you should be able to segment it into the immediate plan, which is between 0 to 2 years, and your medium plan, which is 3 to 5 years. Show or demonstrate that you are growing in that career from the 2 years after studies to the 5 years after studies, and even the long term. So it should be able to be attached and showing growth from in the time that you are graduating to the time that you are going into your long plan. Your long-term career plan should not be way off what you're going to do in your 5-year plan. Then the awardees, the scholarship evaluators are going to see that you don't know what you're doing, you're not being specific, and you're not being realistic, or you are not a suitable candidate because you are not demonstrating a vision that shows that you have a clear career path that is growing from the time that you graduate going to 5 years. So once you've done that, again, you use the checklist. This checklist is important. The first question you ask yourself is, or the only question that you're going to ask yourself is my plan realistic? Even as I'm dreaming big, have I written something that is realistic within the 5 years and in the long term? Have I demonstrated progress from my 5 years to my long term? Have I shown that this is how I'm going to use the new skills. Prioritizing development. Remember, it's not about you, it's about how you're going to contribute to development. So even your career plan should be able to demonstrate contribution to development within 5 years and in a long-term plan. Once that is done, you would have answered this essay clearly, and that's it for this essay. The next essay is about the proposal, or the proposed, I think it's a mistake, the proposed study in the UK, what you're proposing to study. So the question goes like, provide a short outline. So here, remember, it's a short outline of your proposed study. This should be written for an audience that does not have any prior knowledge of the subject and must not be overly technical. Any abbreviation or specialization terms must be explained. So remember, the question is asking us to provide a short outline. So we're just outlining, we're not going into details. And if you look at the word limit for this essay, it's not much. So how do you answer the proposed study in the UK? By outlining. So you start with a problem again in plain language, that this is a problem, or your field of study is ABCD, and you give the title of your proposed study. So there is this problem, and I intend to study this course so that I can contribute to solving that problem. And then you explain how your study is relevant to the development of your country or your field. Briefly, you are not going into details, and how you hope you are going to conduct research. If you have identified any research that is related to the course that you want to study, you also mention it. And once you've written this essay, you come back to the checklist. And the first point is that you need to ask yourself, if someone had to read that essay, would that person outside your field understand it? Is it technical, or is it written in a plain and clear, simple language? So someone from your field should be able to clearly understand what you want to study, what you are proposing to study, and why you are proposing to study that course. The second checklist or question that you need to ask yourself after writing this essay is, does this outline connect the problem that you've identified, the course, and the skills that you want to gain? So if it does, then you've clearly outlined and you've responded to this essay question. The next question on Study UK is now the detailed study plan. The previous one was just an outline. Now here they are asking you for a detailed study plan. And the question reads, provide a detailed plan of your proposed study. The selection panel, we want to understand why you have selected your proposed course and the university. So why the proposed course and the university? You should remember that although the selection panel will be well informed, they are not likely to be specialists in your subject. So describe why the proposed course and the university, what you are looking for, and any dissertation topic. So this is what you should be able to respond to as you are writing this essay question. So the first thing that you need to do is to write in paragraph, and I'm giving you a technique that you can use to write in paragraph, which I call the idea technique. So how do you use the idea technique? For I, it's the interest. So as you are writing in paragraph, you need to mention the interest or what you are interested in. I'm interested in the University of ABCD and studying the course ABCD because of ABCD. So you demonstrate the interest, what you are interested in studying clearly. Then you connect it now to the development. I'm interested in this and this because of the new skills that I'm going to acquire, which bridges these skills that I have. So you have ABCD skills. However, for you to contribute to development, you need the ABCD skills. So this course is going to give you ABCD skills that you're going now to use. So you connect in your interest to the development of your country. Remember, this is all about development and contributing to your country and not to your selfish gain of gaining a master's for prestige or to get a high salary. The next part is giving solid examples. So you should briefly give examples of the actual modules that you are going to use and how they are going to help you gain the skills that you want or the research topic that you have in mind. So give examples of such modules or the topic that you want to study during your master's. The other thing is aim. So you link your choices to the gaps that you've identified in your skills, to your professional background, or to your future plan. So clearly link what you want to obtain from the course and how it is related to your future plan. So there should be a clear aim to link your current gaps to the skills and how you're going to use them in future. And once you've done that, you should have written the essay to respond to the question, and then you use the checklist again to see if you've responded to the question. The first question is, have you explained why the course is strategically necessary for you and the skills that you seek in that course, how you are going to implement them? Have you explained why that university is strong in your field? So why have you chosen that university? You should be able to demonstrate why you think it's strong in your field. And finally, have you included any topic or have you demonstrated the skills that you want to gain, and is it easy to understand and realistic? So these are some of the questions that you should be able to ask yourself as you go through your essay after writing it. Right. The next essay question is a personal statement essay question. We are going to read the essay question and then see how we'll be able to respond to it. So the essay question, when it comes to personal statement, is the CSC encourages applications from candidates who have faced significant disadvantages or personal barriers to higher education or underrepresented in their field of study or workplace. So please summarize the way in which your personal background has encouraged you to want to make an impact in your home country. You may wish to highlight areas where you have already made significant contribution, including overcoming your personal or a community barrier in accessing higher education or within your field. Okay, so here, how do we answer this? So before you answer this one, it's a bit difficult, so I would want to take you into different steps that you can use to answer this question. And the first step is by brainstorming. How are you going to answer to this question? So start by brainstorming, and the first thing you need to reflect about your personal background. And once you are reflecting about your personal background, you need to consider the social, economic, the cultural, or geographical background. Are there any challenges that you have faced previously within your economy, within your community? Are you coming from a fragile country? Are there wars and everything? So you consider your personal background and understand what are some of the things that would have disadvantaged you in that community. Is it because of your gender? Is it because of ethnicity? Is it because of disability? Are you coming from an underrepresented? So you brainstorm and list everything about your background which you think can demonstrate to them that yes, you are faced with this challenge, but you overcame it and you contributed to development, and you can still contribute to development after getting this master's. So other barriers that you faced, you also include them as you are brainstorming, and you be specific on barriers. Then your response to these barriers should be, how have you contributed to making these barriers be breached? And then you link them to how they became your motivation. So if you are faced with the issues of or challenges of education, maybe you are coming from one of the remote areas where if you are ready, there were a lot of pregnancies, early child marriages, and you are the only one that came out and went or reached up to university. So how did you contribute to ensuring that you stop that practice in your community, or how did that motivate you to be the only one coming out of that community to reach the university and everything? So such kind of things should be considered as you are brainstorming. And then emphasis should be on the commitment to development and not about yourself, even if it's a personal statement. Okay, so once you brainstorm, the next thing now is to write the essay. And how do you write the essay? Again, I'm bringing in another technique that you can use to write the essay, which is called the bridge technique. So how do you use the bridge technique to write this essay? The first thing is that we need to state the barrier or the problem that you face, whether it is a personal barrier or it's a community barrier. Is it poverty? Is it lack of school, like I've already explained? So clearly mention or state the barrier that you faced with as you are answering the personal statement essay. Then how relevant is it? How is that barrier relevant to you or to the community that you lived in? And then what action did you take? What initiative did you take that led you to overcome that personal barrier or that community barrier? You should be able to include that. This is the barrier, this is how it affects the community or it affects me, and I did ABCD to overcome this barrier, and these are the results or the difference that came up because of me contributing to solving this barrier. So the difference that you made by the initiative that you created should come out clearly and show growth, how this has shaped you into becoming a more experienced person or passion to contribute to more change at another level. And then also ensure that you demonstrate how the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission is going to empower you further to contribute to more meaningful impact in your community. Because I've faced this and this scholarship is going to help me gain ABCD, and I've done this so far. I've done ABCD. By being a Commonwealth scholar, I'm going to leverage on ABCD, and this is going to help me do greater work in this field by contributing more. Such kind of statements should be included as you are answering this question. All right. So now after I've written this essay question, the personal statement, the next thing is to use the checklist. If you've written the correct personal statement, the first question you should ask yourself is, have you shown resilience even with the challenges that you faced? Have you shown resilience without sounding that you are pitting on yourself? You shouldn't be able to write to show that you are pitting on yourself, but you should be able to write to demonstrate that you are a resilient person and you overcame those challenges that you've written. Have you demonstrated the impact that you created and not just the hardship that you underwent? Is there a clear link between your background and the development commitment? So you have this background, you've already contributed something. Is there now a link to greater things that you would want to do in terms of developmental commitment? So that should also come out. Right. The next essay is on voluntary and leadership essay, and we're going to read the essay and then see how we respond to this essay. So the essay reads, summarize the way in which you have engaged in voluntary activities and the opportunities you have had to demonstrate leadership. Okay? So the first thing that you need to do, again, before you answer this essay question, is to do brainstorming. It's very important because you may be a well-experienced person, you have different leadership experience, you have different voluntary experience. So it's important that you brainstorm before you write this essay. So how do you brainstorm? You need to start by creating a table, and this table should list all your jobs, your voluntary activities, and your community activities. So what have you done? Then to each of these jobs, voluntary activities, and communities activities, you need to assign what position you were in. What was your actual position? Were you a coordinator? Were you a supervisor? What was now your actual job description? You are doing ABCD, you put everything. Okay, then at this point, you are just listing everything that is related to your leadership and your voluntary, so that is very clear on what you are going to select from. Right, so once you've done the brainstorming, the next step is now to select the best response that you are going, the best examples from your wealth of experience that you are going to use to write and respond to this essay question. So the first thing is that you need to select the best two. So by best two, I mean one should be a leadership experience, the second one should be a voluntary activity experience. And this should be able to demonstrate that you were driving change in your community or in your organization. There was an improved outcome because of your impact, and you were solving a specific challenge. Okay, then you can use the true technique, which I call the true technique, to help you select these two best examples from your wealth of experience that you would have listed in the step 1 of brainstorming. So what is the true technique? So the true technique is that the two examples that you're going to select, they should be true examples. You're not lying. You are bringing in your true leadership experience and your true voluntary experience. It should be relevant with examples that can be connected to other essays that you've already written about. It should be unique example when you went beyond your job description. So it's not just about being a leader. You should be able to demonstrate that you went beyond your job description to volunteer or to provide leadership. And that example should be tangible. It should be able to have clear results that can be measurable in numbers or that can be quantified. So this is how we are going to be able to select two examples, one leadership and one voluntary, from the wealth of experience that you have using the true technique for selecting the best examples. And once you've selected those best examples, the third step is now to draft your essay. So how do you draft your essays? You use the STAR technique to draft the essays. If you are not familiar with the STAR technique, I'm going to explain what the STAR technique is. So the S stands for the situation. So you briefly highlight the situation that made you do that leadership experience or that voluntary experience. So you include things like who, where, what did you do? And this should account at least for 5% of the word count for this essay that you are writing. Then the task, again, what responsibilities you need to do. Remember from the first step, you were brainstorming and you had to put your responsibility, so you can take one of those responsibilities and that would be the task that you needed to do, but you've identified that leadership experience, and this again should account for 5% of the word count. Then action, what exactly did you do, you as a leader, as a volunteer? It's not about what you did as a group, it's about what you did as a leader. And this is why action is carrying at least 50% of the word count for this essay. So clearly explain 3 to 4 or 5 actions or steps that you took as a leader or as a volunteer in that experience that you are writing about, and clearly demonstrate on the results or the impact, which is 40% of the essay question that you are writing. So you should be able to demonstrate the results of the impact. You can even go beyond showing the results. You can also demonstrate what you learned from this experience, your leadership experience or your voluntary activity. So this is how you'll be able to write this essay. Be specific with a situation include the task that you did, the actions, and the results of your leadership or your voluntary activities. Again, for you to be able to write this essay clearly, you need to use numbers, percentages. This will usually quantify the results or the impact that you create. So if you delegated an activity to 20 people, that already demonstrates that that action of delegating is impactful because you delegated to 20 people. If hunger was reduced by 50%, that already demonstrates that that is an impactful result because you were able to reduce hunger by 50%. So use of percentages, numbers is very important in your essay writing. Again, the other thing that you need to use as you are writing this essay is to use readership-rich vocabulary, such as you led, you guided, you convinced, you persuaded, you oversaw, you delegated. These are words that you need to include as you are writing because they show leadership as you are writing. Right. So if you are not comfortable with the STAR technique, which is the situation, the task, the action, and the result, you can use other techniques to write your essays. I've given you other simple techniques that you can use to write the essays, and these include the CAR approach to writing. So this one, instead of you writing wrong by using the situation, the task, the action, and result, you just give the context. You start with the context of your readership or voluntary activity, then you give the actions from that context and what was the result. You can also use the PAR approach, which starts with a problem that you wanted to solve as a leader or as a volunteer. What actions did you take and what was the result? So have an introduction statement as you are writing and a conclusion. So you need to have an introduction and a conclusion. Then in the middle, this is where now you're going to put everything in your readership or your voluntary activities to use, whether the STAR approach, the CAR approach, or the PAR approach. So that is how you are going to write. And in essay writing, it is usually difficult to stay within the word count that is given. So most of the time, you're going to find yourself going above the word limit that has been stated. So how do you reduce your word count? One of the techniques that you can use to reduce your word count is by using active verbs and avoid using adverbs. So use active verbs, they will be able to help you. Use also numbers instead of words, and also use of synonyms. When you use synonyms, they will be able to at least help you reduce on the number without changing the meaning of what you are writing about. Okay, so once you are done writing the leadership and voluntary essay question, you can use now the checklist to see if you've clearly answered the question. The first thing that you need to ask yourself is, have you clearly stated your specific roles in the organization? Have you explained what exactly you did? So the actions that you took. That's why they are carrying 50% of the essay word limit in this advice that I'm giving you. Have you explained what change or results you were involved in or you brought about because of that voluntary activity or because of that leadership experience that you demonstrated? So these are the questions that you need to ask yourself as you are writing the essay question. And finally, are your impact or is your impact be able to be measured or quantified? This is where I've emphasized the use of percentages and numbers. Someone who is reading, if they see numbers, they see percentages, they will be able to quantify the impact that you are creating as a leader or as a volunteer as you are writing this essay. So this is what you should be able to use to check yourself. And finally, before this video ends, we are done with the essay questions. I just want to point to you some of the useful resources on the website that you can be able to use as you are preparing to apply for this scholarship. Please read through this information. It's very important. It will help you to avoid mistakes that others have made who applied previously. So the first thing is that you follow the application guidance and advice. You will find this information on the Commonwealth Scholarship page, and also the advice that is in the actual scholarship form on the CSC portal, and also the instructions that are provided by each respective university. So you need to follow all those application guidelines. Do not feel lazy. Read the information. For you to win a scholarship, you need to do a lot of reading, a lot of research to prepare yourself so that you submit a strong application. Feedback to unsuccessful applicant. There is a tab on the Commonwealth Scholarship where they've given feedback to unsuccessful applicant. So you can read through and try to avoid those mistakes that others have made previously. They are general, but they can still help you, especially if you are new, to avoid. Reference requirement. There is also information on what should be contained in your reference. Use that information and give it to your referee as they are writing your references. They should not just give you a one sentence as a reference. That is going to disadvantage you. Remember, when we looked at how you are going to be graded or scored, we considered references as a primary indicator of you being a merit candidate. Candidate merit references are considered as a primary indicator. General conditions. You should also be able to understand the general condition of the scholarship that you are applying for, and should you be awarded, you need to stay within those conditions. There is also a section on frequently asked questions on the Commonwealth website. Again, that is a useful information that you can read through to understand what are some of the common questions that you may have. You may find that they are being answered in this section. With that said, thank you for watching this video and coming to the end. Please do drop any question that you have in the comment section, and once I have time, I'll be able to respond to them. And if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe so that you can receive more alerts whenever I post a video on scholarship. And thank you very much once more, and see you in the next video.